Are we ready? We'll give people a couple more minutes to get out of the waiting room. Morning, everybody. Or I guess it's afternoon now. Hi, good morning. I keep saying that, afternoon. All right, we're just going to give people a couple more minutes. For whatever reason, when we were sending out the Zoom link to get in, I think it's going to people's spams. So we will get that worked out. And fortunately, this session is our opening session. So we are able to view on Facebook Live. And then also, you know, as our year goes along, I think we'll work out some of these kinks.
Hi, how's everybody doing? My name is Troy Carter. I'm currently stationed in San Diego, California, and I'm excited to join Kids Rank in their Foundations Conversation Series on the mental health and well-being of our military and veteran youth. I look forward to being a part of the conversations and sharing my story as an active duty military member and as a father. Stay tuned in the coming months for more information about our session and how you can be part of the discussion.
So good morning, everybody. This is one of our masks from an upcoming project that we did in partnership with the National Veterans Art Museum, who you'll hear from in a little bit. We're very excited. This is Juliet and Addie. They're sisters of an active duty Navy service member, and they chose to work on this together. And this is one of the beautiful creations that is part of their expression of being a military child. So if you don't know me already, my name is Kelsey Liverpool, and I am the co-founder and executive director for Kids Rank. And I was a military spouse for 17 years and have been part of this military community for over 20 years now. And so I've volunteered and done work. And 8 years ago, I felt that there was a gap in service for our kids, that there's so many wonderful programs that do work around advocacy, and episodic workshops and camps that are really fantastic to support our kids. But I was finding that I needed something that was more consistent for my own children, for them to feel connected to each other and to others in their community. And so Kids Rank was born out of that desire to find a way for our kids to feel like they belong. So right now you'll see a poll question, and we just want to know where you are, you know, who you are as part of the community. Okay. Oh, so we have parents, social workers, and some other. And I think that is, I'm glad to have you all here today. And we'll be talking about why we're holding this session and why it's so important over the next little bit. So when I started this endeavor of KidsRank, what started as our groups for kids, we really wanted to broaden and think about how we were impacting the community. And we think of the military child from a holistic perspective. And we really want to build this community of care. And so, you know, where are our kids in the country, and how are they being impacted as they transition in and out of our community? So here's another poll question. So the question is, where do military families live within the United States? So are they living on the East Coast and the West Coast, around installations and commands, in cities, in rural zip codes, or in every zip code? So drum roll. Let's see how everybody did. Oh, you all are awesome. And the answer is that military kids live in military connected kids live in every single zip code across the country. And then also in installations around the world. And so when we're thinking of the military child from a holistic perspective, you have to understand that when they transition in and out, they need support in many different areas. And how are we as a community educating ourselves and aware of the needs that they have as they transition in and out of communities? So 70% of military families don't live on bases. And so that means that they are out in civilian community. We're just under 1% of the population. And so it's really our civilian friends and family that, you know, need to understand some of the challenges that we face and how we can better support and make sure that they get the needs met based on the challenges that they face. So our next poll question is, what percentage of active duty members were military connected youths themselves? So how many of our currently serving, what percentage of our currently serving have family or parents that were in the military? Okay, let's see who knew this one. Okay, some said 33%, 67%, 50%. The correct answer is over 50%. So over 50% of our currently serving, I think it's about 54%, are children of active duty service members. And actually that number goes up to closer to over 80% if you consider grandparents, aunts and uncles, maybe siblings and things like that. And so really it's a generational endeavor. I mean, that military families, that it's part of our culture, that my own children, I have 2 military children of my own, and that one of them is going to probably go into the military. So me and my own household fit that statistic. And so I think that ingraining of that service mind is really important for our families. And so, yeah, 2/3 of active duty military members grew up in military families themselves. And so I think that's really important as we think about how we support the kids now and where they will go when they become adults. So that's something to really consider, and part of the reason that we wanted to make sure that their mental health is considered and their well-being. So giving them the support on the front end so that as they transition and move along in life, that they have the the resources that they need to be able to thrive wherever they are. So I think we're going to take a couple minutes now, and maybe Meryl, are we going to do a quick breakout session? So this really is a conversation. So let me get comfortable. So I wanted, the whole point of this is that we, I by no means claim to know everything about, military children, only from the work that I do, and over the years from the partners who there are many that we've engaged with. And I know that there are so many challenges that we might not be aware of. There are so many resources out there that would be really wonderful for our families to know about and for the kids to be connected to. It's a very small community that that supports specifically this niche group of kids. And so to me, it makes the best sense to have us all share resources and understand what's out there, where there are best practices, where people are doing an amazing job at what they do. And so, but we can't do that without knowing from the community, like both the kids and the adults that are in their lives, where we might be missing things, and how we can better support. So really the goal of this conversation series of foundations is to make those connections, is to have conversations around the different areas where our military kids will enter into community. So you figure if they are transitioning into a community, they have to go to school somewhere, or they're homeschooled. They are engaging with the command or installation they're connected to. Or if they're a National Guard family, they might not have a military installation near where they live. They go to the churches in their community. They engage with community partners. They have, there's so many areas that military kids are interfaced with that. Are we prepared to support them? So one of the things that we wanted to ask, we're going to do a quick breakout room and with people on our call today, and see what services are out there for military. Are you aware, if you're a civilian, are you aware of that there are military kids in your community? Are you able to find supports for them? Say if you're a teacher, are you aware of resources that might be available for them? If you're a community partner and you're recognizing some challenges, do you have a place that you can refer children and families to? So we're going to take a couple minutes just to see, kind of where people are aware and what they know, and just have a breakout for a minute. Oh.
Charles, I'm going to try to get you, it just put everybody in breakout rooms. I'm going to try to get you into breakout rooms. So give me one moment.
Thank you.
I'm new to the breakout room, so I'm sorry. I gotta now. We missed you by like I think I had clicked it maybe like 10 seconds before I got the fact that you were in the waiting room. So once they're in there, I think I can do it here. There we go. All right, I'm putting you in a room 1. Nope, room 2.
Thank you.
I'm still sideways. I'm gonna have to fix my screen.
Oh yeah, that's very interesting. That it just changed. There you go.
Okay.
So Danette disappeared. She was
Oh,
supposed
she
to be
had to hop off. She hopped off, and then Charles joined us.
Charles did, and it was before Danette hopped off, so I put him in the other one.
Okay. Is it going okay?
It must be. They haven't come back yet.
Whoops. Hi, guys. Hi, Charles. All right. So I just want to take a few minutes because I know in our breakout session, part of this is we wanted to hear about where there might be some areas we don't think about, or hear about some other resources that might be out there. And so I know for us in our group, Heather, could we have Heather real quick share your thoughts and what you said? Because I thought it was an interesting, and again, something I hadn't really considered.
Sure. So some friends of ours who actually, they served in Great Lakes while we were there as well. But now they're stationed in Jacksonville. They didn't have children while they were in Great Lakes, but now they have foster children. And they're very much a part of the military family. I mean, they know all about deployments, but they're not always considered military children. So I was just, she was concerned or wanted to know how we can bridge that gap and what kind of programs are in place for the families who have foster children.
And I think that's such a great point because it's one that I hadn't considered. I know we have Charles on the line who works with One Hope United and works specifically with foster kids. But I think that's an interesting point because we do have all types of families. I think that the view of military families, it's this monolithic view that it's this, husband, wife, 2 children, and that's the only kind of family that there is. And actually, going into our next session, which Troy, who opened up this session, you saw Troy Carter, who's active duty. He'll be part of our family session as an active duty member, but we want to showcase that there are all different types of military families and children and situations. I mean, you have active duty moms, you have dual military, you have National Guard families that have different needs, you have blended families, and you have foster children that I don't think always get highlighted or thought about, and how you bring them into the fold and make them feel as part of our community. Thank you, Heather. Does anybody else want to share anything that they've talked about in their session? No pressure.
Well, I would share, this is Ashley. I would share that just kind of what we were talking about through the whole pandemic and people PCSing. Heather mentioned it as well, that, kind of her first stops would be Fleet and Family. And unfortunately, the in-person option just, it isn't there. And as an ombudsman myself, with the resources that the families are possibly needing, we kind of have to think outside of the box of maybe virtual isn't always an option. So giving a more, just an opening up the solutions. I think there are a lot of gaps here that we're finding in general anywhere in our community, but especially now during a pandemic, where a lot of people would just go in person and kind of get a one-stop shop. That's not always the easiest, and it's not always the best for that family either. So trying to figure out the different solutions for the different families.
Yeah, that's a great point. This pandemic has really changed. So that was one of my biggest concerns around the mental health of military children, is thinking about as they transition in and out of communities, if they're part of an active duty family, a lot of times if you're moving into a new community, it can be difficult because you don't know anybody yet. And so during this, when we were in lockdown, there weren't opportunities for in-person to go to, kind of community gatherings where you might go to your local Fleet and Family support or some other sort of command-sponsored welcoming. That's not available now as well. And so my fear was that the isolation that families sometimes feel just moving into a new community and not knowing where you are or anybody there, it's compounded by this time during COVID. So I think that that's something, thinking about the resources and support systems, and how, mental health providers, it's wonderful that they're able to do virtual sessions now. I know families that have been able to keep in touch with their counselors and psychologists in different states, just because now there is an option for virtual. But I think that's all something to consider, and especially as we keep moving forward within the pandemic. I mean, you think about the National Guard families whose parents are being deployed sometimes to different areas with the social unrest, and there's a lot of heightened anxiety going on right now, I think, for a lot of people, and our families are still considered essential duty. So that's something to consider as we think about how we build programming and support systems for our military connected kids. So I wanted to just give you, this is our opening session, and I just wanted to give you an idea of what we've been thinking about and where we've seen some gaps, and where we felt we wanted to focus some time. So next month is Month of the Military Family, next week, I guess, starting in November. And so we're really excited to be partnering with Focus. What we've done through this series is it's been a wonderful opportunity to connect with some really great organizations. And so the format will be somewhat where we have a real world story, but then we're connecting with a resource or best practice community partner that are doing wonderful things that support our families and specifically the kids. So next month, we'll be talking more with families. Like I said, there's so many types of families. So, from active duty, National Guard, reservists, and then our veteran families, which Kids Rank serves. So we'll be partnering with Focus. We'll talk with the National Veterans Art Museum, who each month will have a beautiful mask that was created by one of our kids in our program, that art therapy. So sometimes kids might need some sort of connection in some way to release anxiety, and finding alternative ways to do that, like art therapy, is a wonderful way. We, of course, will talk about education. So the Military Child Education Coalition does wonderful programming and has resources for families around education and how we help them transition in and out of school smoothly, with the best chance for thriving in those communities. And so this is kind of a list of where we would like to go and some of the things that we will be covering, but that by no means means that these are the only topic areas. So foster care, again, was not something that I ever thought about doing. So maybe Charles, you and I need to have a conversation, but I think that that's an area that is something that there are a lot of families that have those they do take in foster kids. And so how are we continuing to welcome them? One of the other topics that we weren't planning in the beginning, but became from many sources, an area that we needed to focus on are military moms, an active duty or veteran mom. That's a very different dynamic from the child's perspective. So we wanted to spend a little time. So we're excited about some of the partners, or really all of the partners, but we're excited to be working with people. I feel that we're stronger if we work as community. And so how we can share what's going on is really our goal for this series over the next 12 months.
Kelsey, I just wanted to say hello, and sorry to join a little bit late, but I'm really here to kind of just listen. I think this is an opportunity for me to learn from this group about the things that I do within my nonprofit that align with what you're doing with Kids Rank, and how we can be a support to each other. And I'm really excited to hear the part about the I don't want to say definition of family, but the redefining of what the family unit looks like, which I think is really important, especially when the U.S. has 440,000 kids in foster care, and that number is growing. or the need for foster care. So I'm glad to hear that you and the group will be taking that up over the next couple of months or so.
Yeah, thank you. And so that's exactly right. I think that this series is an opportunity to explore the variety of family. I think it's an important point to note because different family types and extension, their children need resources that speak to where they are. And so if we can recognize and understand really where we're coming from, that gives us the best chance in allowing these kids to really do well where they are. And so some statistics, half of our active duty members are married, and the average age of their spouse is about 30 years old. And so what's different now than historically is that, in World War II, say, for instance, the military family looked a lot different. So military members went into service, they did their time in service, got out, and then started having their families. Now, military members go in and are very young, getting married and having children. And so those military children now are experiencing this life with them, which is different than it has been historically. So, and a lot of our military children are young. So the biggest percentage of our kids are 5 and under, with the next greatest being between 6 and 11. And so you have a lot of young children that are sometimes experiencing trauma through separation, through transition, through, so many different things. You have parents that have their own trauma and then bring that home to the family. So a lot of military children are becoming caregivers for those parents. And so how are we acknowledging and supporting, and not to mention in a culture that that mental health is still a stigma. And so that's just the reality. And so knowing that, where are we doing our best job to be supportive?
Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. Hi, I'm Moki Tantoko, Education and Programs Manager here at the National Veterans Art Museum in Chicago, Illinois. We're excited to partner with Kids Rank for their Foundations Conversation series on the mental health and well-being of our military and veteran youth. We look forward to sharing the National Veterans Art Museum's mission of preserving, collecting, and exhibiting veteran-created artwork to talk about the experience of military service on all our lives. Stay tuned for more information about our virtual tour and a conversation about the We Are Resilience Masks of Endurance project we did earlier this year. See you then.
So we are so excited about that exhibit with Moki. So she will be, they will be our session in December. And when I tell you that exhibit is so stunning, there are 100 masks of military and veteran children expressing how they feel as military children. It's really a commentary on their mental health. And I'll leave it for December. You'll have to come back and join us. But it is such a stunning exhibit. We're really excited. The families are going to get to start going in next month to go do small tours to see the kids that are still stationed here in this area will get to go see the exhibit, the National Veterans Art Museum in Chicago. It's a beautiful, just visually, but really inspiring in terms of the story behind them. And the exhibit will be accompanied with a printed catalog, which I'm very excited, and we'll share more about that when it's available. But it really is a wonderful way to learn more about our families, learn more about the kids that and what they go through in terms of being part of our families. So I thank Moki and her team at the National Veterans Art Museum and look forward to their session in December. So I think that, through this conference, what we'll also be able to share there are really, wonderful things that are part of our families, but there are areas where it's not always comfortable to talk about. And so bullying and suicide prevention is one of them. We will have an opportunity to explore that in the spring during one of our sessions. But again, as I was saying, mental health is not always discussed. And we as a family, a lot of military families, I am part of one of them, you kind of get used to kind of just powering through and not necessarily always liking to ask for help, and not actually sometimes even knowing where those resources are for help. And so you end up running into situations where until it's wildly on the spectrum on one end or the other, you don't take notice. So until there might be suicidal ideation or bullying, that has caused depression or anxiety, do you recognize that there's really a problem? And so really trying to normalize conversations around mental health is important. And because military children, as the slide shows, they don't have a choice. Me as a spouse, I got married. I understood what I was getting into. I was an adult. And I mean, I didn't know exactly what I was getting into, but I did get into it. But military kids are born into it. And so it's all they know. And it's ingrained in what they do. And while they experience a lot of challenge, I want everybody to understand how resilient that they are, and how they really have this inner strength that we as an organization is what we play to. We are a strength-based organization, and we really think about the kids in all their wonderful qualities, but we still have to be mindful and support the things that they are challenged in. So, I look at us as preventative. A lot of the organizations that you'll hear from are preventative organizations. They're really working to do things on the front end to give our kids the best chance, as they grow up through life. And so there are nearly 2 million military connected kids in the country, with almost another 2 million actually that are children of post 9/11 veterans. So that's, it's a pretty sizable niche market. And so, we have to make sure that we're addressing them. And so it's interesting within the military population that, you do have all of these other niche, so foster care, for instance, or you might have special needs children. That last slide showed that 20% of our military connected kids are special needs, which we will be doing also a session on in March. So here's a little something from our April.
Frank, I want to give a shout out to the military kids all around the world and thank them for their service to our country and their communities. You are brave and strong, and I am so proud of all you do. Keep the good work. Adios.
We love Elmo. I mean, we love Rosita. And she is Sesame Street. We're really proud that in April we will be partnering with Sesame Street to join our conversation around military children. They have a whole suite of options for our military kids, and helping them understand and think about how they can work through and transition within our community. So they speak to our youngest military kids and give them some context to understand, what's going on as a military child. I don't know if you knew this, but Elmo is actually a military child. So we actually got to send him a care package when we first started Kids Rank, and he reached back out and sent all my kids signed, autographed photographs of himself, which was really cool. So really, I'm so excited about this year and the partners that we're going to be working with, and thinking about where this conversation can go. So some of the challenges that our kids face are transitions, obviously, fitting into new schools and communities, being able to feel connected to where they are. And that is true for there are other populations. So you have, say, police officers or first responders who experience anxiety around the work that their parent may do. And you have, say, business corporate people that might transition and move a lot. So moving in and out of community. The difference with our children is that all of these types of situations happen in a very short, condensed period of time. So they're moving, they have the anxiety of, a parent that might be deployed, they have the separation. So all of these things are happening in very short successions, which can really cause a lot of challenge in their lives. So this is another conversation that we're going to have. So children who are military connected have unique needs and experience compared to the peers of their same age. Frequent moves, separations, as I've said, and they are seen, if they go see a provider at a military treatment center, then those providers, whether they're civilian or military, tend to be more educated around military culture. But 50% of our kids go to care in the civilian sector. And what that means, and what my concern in that is that, for instance, the VA here in our region no longer sees military children for mental health. So they're referred out into the civilian community, which would be fine. But the problem comes in is if the civilian provider is not educated around military culture. Not that their diagnoses may be wrong, but sometimes how they speak to and translate that to our families can be off-putting, and it can be a challenge for our families to feel like they're being heard and understood. And that's really important, I would think, especially when you're working with families around mental health. And so how can we make sure that our civilian providers and friends that are in our communities are better educated around military culture, so that then when they're seeing children, that they are really able to speak to them in a way that connects and that they feel that they're recognized and safe and supported. So here's a question. What type of schools do the majority of military youth attend? I'm going to answer this too.
I did not read that question right. Can I resubmit that? That's on multitasking, and you should not do that. By the way, that's a thing. You should not multitask. Sorry.
It's okay. It happens. So that actually is accurate. Proud of you all. Most 80% of our military children attend public schools and civilian schools. And so what that means, so historically there were Department of Defense schools, and they understood all the kids that were going to those schools were in the military, so they understood military population. But when your kids start going to civilian schools, there are a variety of level of where those teachers and administrators understand military culture. So you have children sometimes that might be experiencing, a separation if their parent is dual military, both parents are in the military, and they are both have to go away, and that child might be living with a guardian, a grandparent, or a family member, and so they may be experiencing some stress and trauma and acting out in ways that are not necessarily great in school. If that educator understands, if their teacher understands that, they may approach a situation differently. So school-age military kids, active duty more specifically, move 6 to 9 times through their K through 12 years. I mean, that would be a lot. I don't come from a military family. When I was young, my dad did serve in the Army, but not while I was alive. And so I having to transition in schools that much, I mean, it's rough. I mean, you come in and out, sometimes in the middle of the school year, sometimes as a senior in high school, you'd have to start a new school and maybe not be able to join the varsity team because there's certain restrictions around, you know, being a new student and being able to be on the varsity team. You know, all of those things really impact how kids, you know, feel like they belong within a community. So in February, when we talked to the Military Child Education Coalition on our education session, we'll learn more about best practices. So Meryl just put up, you know, who some of our partners will be over the next, and this is just a beginning list. So there are partners that we are in conversation with or that we're talking to that will join this list, and we want others to join as well. So if you have ideas on who you think might have best practices, who may be doing really great things in your community, who organizations that, you know, really serve military children well and are strong in doing that, or if you're in areas where you don't know of any resources, please stay tuned because we will be sharing a lot of those over the next 12 months. And so finally, I want to kind of leave with this thought. You know, this was a quote that says, we are the program of, we need to be thinking as a nation, what are the programs, whether it be in healthcare systems or community services, that are most likely to engage the service member, veteran, and their families in order to provide them with the support they need. I go back to the whole basis of this, of why this session and this series came about, is really how are we as a community broadly thinking about the military kids that come in and out of our lives. You know, are we in the best position to give them the stability they need to really be a part of our communities? So say, for instance, Kids Rank. We serve kids on a weekly basis. We have programming. They earn ribbons for their service. You know, we are a military-based organization, but we see within our own organization that sometimes we have kids that are dealing with social and emotional challenges, you know, emotional regulation issues, things that are bigger than our leaders could potentially handle. We partner with the Chicago School of Professional Psychology, who does a wonderful job at working with us in helping us with our curriculum and thinking through challenges. We have a great curriculum team. But that doesn't mean that we should be treating kids that are having, you know, mental health challenges. We need a support system. We need reputable people that we can hand them off to, that families would feel comfortable. And so we all need resources to be able then to share and to be able to make connections with our kids. So I want to open it up to our participants today and ask, you know, does anybody have any thoughts or questions or ideas or any of that you want to share with us? Did we cover it all? Okay. Well, I want to thank you all today for joining us. I hope that as we move ahead, that we can have more people. So everybody that's on the call today, we'd love for you to share this for our next session, which again will be families that we're going to partner with Focus, and just share it with people that you know, because the more that we can have people involved and engaged, the better network that we'll have to really to support, you know, our military connected kids. Thank you everybody for today for joining. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.